Without objection. And my staff has sent 200 unanswered questions, 200 unanswered questions about this much paper. Consultation is not a courtesy. It is required by law, and we have now 200, and these are perfunctory. What are you up to? What does this mean? This is the kind of normal pace of operations. Radio silence. Other than you're very responsive. Your department.
On June 3rd, the ultimate shield of global security, NATO's Article 5, was blatantly tested on the world stage, and Marco Rubio completely folded. For context, Article 5 isn't just a political guideline. It's an ironclad pact stating that an attack on one ally is an attack on all, legally binding America to fight for its friends. Representative Sarah McBride practically handed Rubio 3 golden opportunities to look into the cameras and reassure the free world, knowing full well that European leaders and Vladimir Putin were watching his every move. Instead of delivering a simple, unbreakable yes, Rubio dodged the question every single time, hiding behind excuses and claiming he needed an upcoming summit in Turkey just to clarify his stance. Think about the gravity of that. If a top American leader needs an entire international summit just to figure out whether the United States will honor its most sacred military promise, what does that mean for the millions of people whose survival depends on that very shield? You absolutely have to see this shocking exchange for yourself. Watch this.
Senator Schatz.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Ranking Member. Secretary, thanks for being here, and I appreciate our ongoing dialogue, even if we're in some disagreement about a number of things. I want to ask you, and I'm going to try to work the senator out of you here, a bunch of yes or no questions. They are not trick questions. Are you still the acting USAID administrator?
Yes.
Do you control hiring and firing at USAID?
Yes. Well, I delegate the authority to an administrator, but obviously, yes.
And you control hiring and firing at state?
Again, we obviously rely on our bureaus that do, I mean, depends what that's a highly technical question. I don't hire the line officers in every embassy,
yeah.
But I mean, technically,
you're ultimately in charge?
Yes.
Okay. Did you personally review all the programs terminated during the foreign assistance review and personally make termination decisions?
Yes.
Do you have the authority to direct any state or USAID staff to brief Congress?
Yes.
Can you have Mr. Lewin or you come back to Congress and talk about USAID in the context of the coming end of the federal fiscal year and SFOPs and appropriations?
That's already planned to do that, not just him, but others, because we'll have to update you on that, on our organization, whatever OMB decides to do with money. So there's a host of things for us to all talk about.
So I just want to illustrate, whenever I talk with you, I feel pretty encouraged, and then stuff doesn't happen. I wrote 8 unanswered letters, and I request to enter those into the record without objection. And my staff has sent 200 unanswered questions, 200 unanswered questions about this much paper. Consultation is not a courtesy. It is required by law, and we have now 200, and these are perfunctory. What are you up to? What does this mean? This is the kind of normal pace of operations. Radio silence. Other than you're very responsive, your department and USAID has not been very responsive. Foreign Affairs Reform and Restructuring Act, the Empowerment Control Act, the Anti-Deficiency Act, the Foreign Assistance Act, and the annual appropriations bills for state and foreign operations have been violated in multiple ways. On March 12th, you wrote, "We plan to engage Congress as required both by law and reality before we start drafting a plan to bring USAID over under state." That did not happen. As you know, we have a pledge. We owe the Global Fund $1.3 billion. I spoke with the head of the Global Fund in response to my repeated requests and multiple other people's repeated requests. You told me that those funds were going to be released. It has not happened. I'd just like you to respond to that. And again, I like you, I like our working relationship, but what is happening is we have a good conversation, and then I don't know, it seems to be getting sandbagged underneath you in this vast bureaucracy.
Yeah, well, that's part of the reason why we want to reorganize, is to have less vast bureaucracy, but I wouldn't blame that on this. The first couple points, we believe and continue to believe that we have complied with the law on every step of the way, including through advising Congress of our roles, and even now with the reorganization. We have not issued a congressional notification yet. We issued a preliminary. We have taken input from members. I actually personally signed a letter that I think should have been delivered to you. I was overseas. I don't know if it was Monday or Sunday or Saturday, but it was in response to your
Last
latest
night,
letter.
yeah.
So I hope you did get that. And obviously we'll continue to engage with you on all of this as well.
So the practical effect here, right? Because everyone can agree that, well, I don't know if everyone can agree, but it seems to me that most of us agree that there is virtue in reforming any big institution, and that aligning USAID's operations with the State Department and the President's and the Secretary's foreign policy objectives is beneficial. The question is, can we do this lawfully and in a way that doesn't damage our international reputation? Mothers who have fled Boko Haram in Nigeria are watching their babies starve. Children in South Sudan are dying of cholera. Families are dying because they have been cut off from their HIV medications. There are about 103 deaths an hour. And so we can talk about the reorganization of the State Department, but this becomes quickly not an abstraction, not a normal public policy tug and pull, because the way that this has been done, set aside our disagreement about whether it's been done lawfully, it's been done in a just catastrophic fashion. And so on some level, that's water under the bridge. But what I want from you is a commitment to try to get an appropriations bill that is done on a bipartisan basis that reconstitutes the foreign aid enterprise. I think we can do fewer things. I think we can be more narrow in our focus. But you are pushing on an open door, and instead of pushing on that open door, you are lighting the room on fire. Maybe that was not your intent. And I think we have two objectives right now: minimize suffering and reputational damage, that's one line of effort. And the other is, how do we get back to the regular order where we can do a bill together? And I'd like your thoughts in the remaining minute and a half.
Yeah, well, first of all, that is the intent here, right, is to rebuild the foreign aid enterprise under the State Department. By the way, it's something multiple secretaries of states before me have wanted to do, because we want foreign aid to be a part of our diplomacy toolbox and our way we engage the world, not its own separate entity, but all of it coordinated one with the other. So that's our hope on the reorg, and that's what we're trying to endeavor towards. I also don't think it's fair, by the way, you highlighted a couple points, like in South Sudan, there's distribution problems there. It's not just a program. PEPFAR is 85% operative right now. So you touched about HIV medication.
Secretary, you are required to spend 100% of the money, not 85% of the money.
But 15% of that is funding of programs that we've canceled. We're going to cancel those programs. We've rescinded because they don't reach the purpose of those are elements of individual programs, for example, that were not meeting the mandate of the program. They were not being delivered. We just the other day at the embassy level in Namibia identified fraud, where millions and millions of dollars of U.S. aid was found on the store shelves being resold into the marketplace. It was our ambassador who discovered it. We tried to work with local authorities to fix it, and it was not fixed. And he was weeping at the conference while announcing this decision because he'd hated to do it. And some of the places you highlight, it's important to remember, even if the money is distributed, sometimes it cannot be brought out. The aid does not reach people because armed elements in Sudan, in South Sudan, are impeding aid from reaching their intended recipients.
It's a very complicated world in terms of the delivery of aid. The one point I'd like to
Senator, you're out of time?
With your indulgence,
Yeah.
30 more seconds. And you and Senator Murphy had an exchange about this. It is just not true that only 12% of the aid reaches recipients. The way you get to 12% is it's 12% local NGOs. So that is excluding CARE, that is excluding the World Food Program, that is excluding Catholic Relief Services. And so if you're going to count that as like overhead or inefficiency, Secretary Rubio, you and I have honest disagreements, but that number has been given to you and is not an accurate assessment of the extent to which aid reaches the people who need it. And I will just say, if there's an enterprise to reduce overhead, count me in. but it is not 88% overhead. That's not what's happening. Thank you.
Well, that number, just to clarify, was actually Samantha Power's number. And she regretted that one of the things she was unable to do at USAID is improve upon that number.
Thank you, Senator Barrasso.
Right out of the gate, the tension inside the Senate hearing room reaches an absolute boiling point as Senator Brian Schatz attempts to pull off a textbook political ambush, strutting in with maximum arrogance and launching into a rapid-fire yes or no interrogation like a daytime television prosecutor desperate for a viral soundbite. Instead of focusing on actual solutions to global crises, Schatz decides to kick off the spectacle by whining about radio silence over 200 bureaucratic, paper-pushing homework assignments that his staff sent over, entirely missing the fundamental point that Secretary Marco Rubio is far too busy trying to completely overhaul and dismantle one of the most bloated, corrupt, and unaccountable agencies in the federal government to play Washington pen pal. Let's be brutally honest. Absolutely nobody outside the DC bubble cares if a senator's feelings are hurt over delayed paperwork, especially when billions of American tax dollars are on the line. When his bureaucratic complaints fall completely flat, Schatz predictably pivots to the ultimate leftist playbook, the shameless weaponization of human suffering. He starts throwing out horrific tragedies like starvation, cholera, and missing HIV medications, going so far as to dramatically accuse Rubio of lighting the room on fire in a highly manipulative guilt trip designed to make you believe that demanding government accountability makes you a cruel person. But Rubio refuses to take the bait. Remaining as cool as ice, Rubio completely flips the script and detonates a massive reality bomb that absolutely shatters the establishment narrative. The foreign aid isn't missing because of conservative budget cuts in Washington. It is missing because it is actively being hijacked, stolen, and hoarded by corrupt government officials and armed gangs on the ground. In a jaw-dropping revelation that should outrage every single hardworking American, Rubio exposes how millions of dollars in U.S. taxpayer-funded aid supplies were literally discovered sitting on local store shelves in Namibia, being resold for pure profit by locals, while a devastated U.S. ambassador practically wept at a conference over the profound betrayal. You simply cannot keep blindly throwing massive stacks of cash into a global black hole and hoping that vicious warlords will suddenly decide to play nice. But the absolute best part of the entire hearing, the ultimate unforgettable mic drop moment, happens at the very end when Schatz smugly thinks he has secured a clever gotcha moment. Schatz arrogantly scoffs at the devastating statistic that only 12% of foreign aid actually reaches the people who desperately need it, loudly claiming the number is entirely inaccurate and manipulated. With surgical precision, Rubio calmly fires back and absolutely flattens him with one simple, undeniable fact: that 12% statistic didn't come from right-wing conservatives. It came directly from Samantha Power, the radical former head of USAID under the Obama-Biden administration. Schatz was literally caught on camera trying to debunk and mock a catastrophic administrative failure admitted by his own political party, and you honestly could not script a more embarrassing backfire. At the end of the day, Rubio stood incredibly firm as the only actual adult in the room, refusing to bow down to cheap emotional theatrics and fighting relentlessly to ensure that our foreign aid is no longer a rogue, blank check enterprise, but rather a strictly accountable, America First diplomatic tool. If you are absolutely sick and tired of the Washington swamp handing out your hard-earned tax dollars to corrupt foreign entities with zero oversight, you need to smash that like button right now. Subscribe to the channel for more daily unfiltered political takedowns. Share this eye-opening video everywhere and drop a comment below letting us know exactly what you thought of Rubio's epic reality check.